8 seconds of natural and uncooked mayhem. 8 seconds of guy and beast entangled in a warfare for dominance. This changed into the closing 8 seconds of 25-12 months. Antique Mason Lowe. In 118 years of expert bull riding on the National Western Stock Show in Denver, no one has ever died till 2019. Death wasn't exceptional in rodeo. In trendy, there had been at least 21 deaths recorded within the history of expert bull using, given that 1,989. However, nothing prepared lovers of the sport for the tragedy that would appear on that unique Tuesday in January 2019. This is the tragic demise of the bull rider Mason Lowe. But how did he get into the game inside the first region? After giving delivery to Mason at the 12th of September 1993, his dad and mom, Stacy Lowe and Melissa Reed, relocated from Springfield, Missouri into Exeter. The city had fewer than 800 residents and had become nicknamed the Cowboy Corner because rodeo became its maximum popular game. Mason's dad and his cousin rodeoed, so it's safe to mention that he became honestly born into it. Unsurprisingly, Mason grew up using on his circle of relatives' farm. His young mind had become inquisitive about bull using proper from whilst he changed into a little one. In reality, it turned into reported that once he turned into 3 years antique, he commenced driving the milk calves on his circle of relatives' farm. In his words, "We used to exit there and feed them, and my dad would stick me at the back of them and allow me trip them. I just concept it became amusing. Clearly it became so much amusing that it wasn't long before he graduated onto steers." Not to take something from the passion of younger Mason, there was not anything else to do in the small metropolis. There weren't a number of opportunities to turn out to be a professional soccer participant, baseball player, or a basketballer. And youngsters who have been raised to apply themselves to their greatest power, and Mason knew what his finest strength become, he were doing it given that he become actually 3 years old. He had started to observe the professional bull using developing up, or even named Chris Shivers as his position model. Shivers had become seasoned in 1997 and gained the Professional Bull Riders Global Championship in 2000 and 2003. As you'll assume, Mason got into junior rodeos. The child turned into so true that he skipped high college rodeos to enter beginner bull riding at age 15. Mason changed into competing in the course of the Midwest. It was quite apparent that Mason had moved so quickly due to his superior ability. He frequently stated that he skipped the excessive school thing of the process, and that he occasionally regretted no longer participating at the high faculty stage. However, he also believed that he became extra prepared for expert tours thanks to the newbie competitions. He turned seasoned at 18, and Speedy rose through the ranks as certainly one of the game's pinnacle possibilities. Described as a bull rider who could not revel in himself if he wasn't pushing himself to limits, Mason pursued the wildest, rankest bulls he should locate, in keeping with that report. He competed at his first professional bull riders event in Arkansas in 2011, and in the end became a complete time rider on the Expert Bull Riders Maximum Wave Degree Tour in 2015, qualifying for 3 consecutive Professional Bull Riders World Finals. After his first season, he changed into rank quantity 164 AUI-EMOM International Bull Riders. Mason confessed he began playing his exceptional year on excursion, pronouncing, "It's quite splendid. It's been type of a dream, so I've been sort of rolling with it." During the summertime of this year, he suffered a minor damage managing a wrist injury between seasons. At the start of his 2D season, he was taken into consideration one of the talented up-and-coming riders in competition with the veteran riders, and they were not wrong. Mason couldn't compete over the wintry weather, spending time in California to prevent harm. He later again in February 2017 on the Sprint Center in his domestic kingdom of Missouri. At this point, he ranked 12th inside the world. He then lower back to Springfield for professional bull riders, his annual competition close to his homeland. By the end of that opposition, Mason changed into wide variety 14. At the Iron Cowboy opposition on the Eitan DT Stadium in Arlington, Texas, Mason became handiest, the second one rider to finish a journey on smooth operator in opposition with a 90-factor 75-point journey, and this moved him up to 9th in world scores. However, by using early June, he suffered a small injury from a completed experience, which left him limping for a while. However, didn't have an effect on his opposition schedule. Shockingly, a testimony to his abilities, he won his next experience with another 8-2D live within the two spherical competition at the 14th J.W. Hart Professional Bull Riders Challenge. This feat moved him as much as 11th in the global, and the give-up of the season he had earned extra than $100 in winnings. But it changed into a one-of-a-kind story. By the start of the following season, Mason had dropped further down in ranking. Now 14th on the board, it was time to get his A-Sport lower back. Obviously, he'd become very targeted on attending to the pinnacle, even as making sure he changed into doing everything right for his family. He stated, "A lot of the riders say driving close to domestic is the toughest, but I've constantly thought using near domestic is a great region to trip. They get to observe me on TV each week, however, it's lot specific when you get to look it in person. It's form of like a huge rock display on wheels with bull riding connected to it." Comments like that display how plenty he loved this sport and his circle of relatives. But having certified for the Professional Bull Riders World Finals 3 times from 2015 to 2017, Mason overlooked the risk to make it 4 after failing to qualify in 2018. So while January of 2019 came, it became time to get better, and Mason set his eyes on the National Western Stock Show in Denver. This changed into the Professional Bull Riders Velocity Tour event, conserving at the Denver Coliseum. The National Western Stock Show changed into additionally known as the Denver Western Stock Show. It is an extravaganza that consists of 30 rodeos, 11 horse indicates, and a number of other points of interest just a couple of miles from the coronary heart of Denver. The stock show changed into an eye-fixed opener into the Western tradition and the plain significance of agriculture and ranching industries. This why every wintry weather the show gets over nearly 700 people pouring in from the concrete jungle. It has nearly become a pilgrimage for a few humans since the first display in 1906. So for over a century, this event has always been a place where generations of farmers and ranchers spend time reuniting with old buddies, gaining knowledge about new techniques and strategies in agriculture and ranching, and performing some commercial enterprise 12 months after year. And the video games and various competitions have been just a manner of promoting that solidarity and sense of network. This is why there has by no means been a mention of fatality inside the 113 years that the event's bull driving has been in existence till January 15, 2019. The artwork of bull riding turned into all approximately the 8 seconds of natural chaos. The rider had to remain sitting on about 1,500 pounds of raging muscle, even as the use of best one hand to maintain the bull's rope. The timer begins while the bull's shoulder breaks the gate's aircraft and leaves the chute. While the rider stays at the bull, they are not allowed to apply their unfastened hand for support or keep directly to whatever. The timer runs till the rider's body part makes touch with the floor or their other hand touches the bull. If you cannot stay for the full 8 seconds, you aren't going to get any rating. To qualify, you have so that it will stay on the bull for the total 8 seconds, in spite of the fact that the bull is going to do certainly the entirety imaginable to get you off. It's a game.